Welcome back everyone for a Dating Life Cobra Kai watch party. Everyone was shocked when season 3 came out and episode 8 gave us a taste of this. Well, not everyone. Loyal watch party viewers who saw my Hawk video will remember I said this. So after training at Miyagi-Do Karate, Demetri was finally able to build up enough self-confidence to be the meanest girl in school. Hey, maybe these two are meant for each other after all. So keep in mind, when you watch and subscribe to WatchParty, it isn't just great analysis and entertainment. You are getting a glimpse into the future of the series. Theories and predictions that actually come true. It's really something. Now this took everyone else by surprise, because they couldn't see it coming or figure it out. After all, Demetri is such a nerd, neurotic. He even pushed Daniel to his limits. So how did he bag a girl like Yasmine? That's what we're going to explore, as well as his growth through all 3 seasons to get there. This is Demetri's dating do's and don'ts. Now, Watch Party viewers are the most discerning and intelligent in both the Cobra Kai fandom and all of YouTube. Since you are the elite viewers, I normally don't waste time stating the obvious. But I will make an exception here to point out that while there's some broad advice that applies to everyone generally, most specific advice tends to be limited. That is, dating advice and strategies are different depending on who you are and who you're trying to attract or win over. See, there's even a difference between those two. Demetri's dating do's and don'ts specifically concerns a guy trying to win the girl, so let's take a look at that. Demetri starts off here with a lot of don'ts. Actually, most of the video will be the don'ts, but we'll see how Miguel is a positive influence on him. First off, Demetri is completely opposed to the idea of even talking to a girl, even a girl he likes. First, he sarcastically mocks him.
Oh yeah, all the time. We hang out after school, make out, give each other hand jobs. Now Eli here's the homecoming king, gets laid more than anyone. Isn't that right, Eli?
Later, after crushing on Yasmine, he justifies never making a move.
No, if you don't make a move, you're never gonna have a shot with her.
True, but I'll also never suffer a humiliating rejection. I'm at peace with my depression. Last thing I need to be is suicidal.
Do you ever feel like Demetri is a sort of stereotype of the smart kid who can't get a girl? You feel like you've seen this sort of person in shows before, and maybe you've known someone like him in real life. This is a genuine trap that can befall smart guys like Demetri. You see, smart guys have a lot of excess brain power and imagination. That's what makes them smart. With that, he imagines a massively exaggerated scene of social embarrassment.
But I'll also never suffer a humiliating rejection.
He then creates a logic train to justify doing nothing. Look at his logic. If he talks to them, he suffers a humiliating rejection, he's depressed, he becomes suicidal. Needless to say, it takes a rather smart person to be this stupid. Logic often gives you the feeling of being smart, but it often isn't. It's where smart people go wrong, especially in dating and romance. Though Demetri's logic train follows through, it's actually horrible. The first problem is the point of origin. He's imagining some unclear but really horrible event. When people talk about building self-confidence, they're mostly talking about overcoming this one point. Your imagination of whatever horrible thing will happen, it's really about emotion, not logic. So don't imagine horrible outcomes. If you find yourself imagining really horrible outcomes that produce bad feelings, and the bad feelings prevent you from making the first move, force yourself to change how you're thinking. It's the emotion, not the logic, that is preventing Demetri from ever making a move. Also, don't use logic to justify inaction. That's how your own logic works against you. Now later, Miguel gets up to strike first, but Kyler swoops in and waves to him.
So how'd it go?
This is another horrible thing. Don't use another guy's failure to justify your own inaction. Demetri uses this to reinforce his own logic train that he just laid out. This is why it's so important to have a positive point of origin. Anything can be used to justify inaction. What's crazy is how your mindset influences your reality. When your mindset is already fixated on this logic train, any attempt to talk to a girl that doesn't work out will reinforce it. Instead, a more positive mindset will create a more positive reality filter. Instead, he would notice that Miguel didn't suffer an embarrassing rejection. He walked halfway across the cafeteria, then turned back. No one saw or really even cared. So don't let other people's letdowns reinforce your exaggerated imagination, but do use it to reevaluate your worst fears. It's not as bad as you think. There's one final don't in this scene. Yeah, Demetri has a lot right up front. It's here.
You realize what table you're sitting at, right? You pretty much signed away all hopes of losing your virginity before college.
While it may seem like a friendly joke, this is bad. Don't create a negative association with yourself. Demetri is telling Miguel if he sits with and becomes friends with him, then he'll become a loser and never get a girl. Now you may think it's all a joke and he's not serious, but jokes told often enough become reality. People will react even subconsciously to how you present yourself and how you talk about yourself. When season 1 came out, you didn't see many fans of Demetri, especially with the guys. This is a big reason why. So don't create negative associations with yourself. They will eventually become true, or people will think they're true, and there's really no difference. Now let's jump to the Halloween dance. Miguel wanted to make a move and ask the drama queens to dance. Demetri says,
Slow your roll, we got time.
Well, obviously Demetri's take was wrong, so don't slow your roll. Now, even if you don't lose out to Doctor Who, there's a good reason to make a move on first instinct. While it's not fully applicable in school, when you're out at an event with people you don't already know, where you and a girl sort of notice each other or make eye contact, exactly like this and this, there's a somewhat small window where it's optimal to make your move. Now you're gonna have to think fast. Do you even want to make a move on this girl? But if the answer is yes, you're way better off moving now. Don't slow your roll. Now some of you are thinking, wait a second, just because the girl glanced at you or noticed you doesn't mean she wants to dance with you? That is certainly an insightful thought. Well, let's consider this between a smart person and a dumb guy. A smart guy sees the smile and thinks, maybe she's in a good mood. Maybe she likes my costume. Maybe her friend said something funny. Maybe she likes this song. The dumb guy thinks, that girl smiled at me. I'm gonna ask her to dance. Well, who do you think has a better shot at getting the girl? You feel intelligent when you consider all the possible angles because you've done that your whole life. But you're forgetting the first don't. Don't imagine horrible outcomes. Don't slow your roll. Yes, it's an example of intelligence working against you. Don't be like Demetri. He had a shot with Daenerys Targaryen and lost out to Doctor Who. It's worth pointing out as a character, Demetri did grow from rejecting the idea of ever talking to a girl to at least considering it was possible, just hesitating. So that is improvement. Demetri isn't much better at the library.
It was starting to boost your confidence.
Isn't that a good thing?
No? What has confidence ever gotten anybody except for a black guy and their backpack thrown in the trash?
You know, there's a reason he sounds like the exact opposite of any success coach you've ever seen or had. What a horrible view on self-confidence. But I want to focus on this.
What is the best superpower anyone could have?
Super strength.
Wrong. Invisibility. A distant second would be super speed. To run away fast.
While I've always questioned Demetri's desire for invisibility, the first step to being noticed is being visible. This actually applies to way more than just dating. Whether at school, work, anything, you have to be visible to get noticed. So put yourself out there. Don't be invisible. Now this may be Demetri's worst moment.
I gotta do well on these. So I do well on the actual test. So I get into a good college, which will lead to a good internship. Then a high-paying job. And then, after a couple promotions, I should have enough confidence to get a super hot girl.
This is basically an extreme version of slow your roll. The idea that you can just withdraw from the entire dating scene for years, build yourself up, and then suddenly emerge with a high-paying job and the self-confidence to get a super hot girl is one of the worst things you can tell yourself. What will really happen? He'll be in his 20s trying to ask out girls and go on dates for the first time. Except he'll be competing against guys who've been doing that since high school, and frankly, the girls have too. They're gonna expect the guy to know what he's doing. So if you wait like that, the only woman who will go out with you is a late 30s single mom with a drinking problem, and even she'll dump you. And when she does, she'll say,
Not that nerd? No, he was all bark and no stick.
Yep. There's actually a deeper problem with this approach. It has to do with mindset. If you were to actually follow a plan like Demetri's, You've invested so much into this idea that down the line it will work out perfectly. When, inevitably, it doesn't work the way you intended, you'll get mad and resentful. That, in turn, will only make things worse for you. Really, some of the worst and most destructive guys come from those who think there's some sort of magic move or sure thing, constantly telling yourself,
You should have enough confidence to get a super hot girl.
that will only lead you to unrealistic expectations and even a sense of entitlement.
So don't do that!
The only way to get any good at the dating game is to play the dating game. Don't avoid dating expecting it to be easy later. The only way you learn this stuff is by doing it. So get out into the fray. And now we're here. After a small motivational speech from the best friend in the world, Hawk, Demetri makes an attempt with Yasmine.
Happy birthday! Sorry if I'm bothering you. I don't normally converse with the opposite sex. Well, except for my mom. Even then, it's a bit intimidating.
This is a big moment for Demetri as he actually made an attempt to talk to the girl he had a crush on. It's big progress from where he was at the beginning when the very concept of talking to them was horrid. So that's a good thing. It's an improvement. The lesson here, do talk to the girl you have a crush on. However, don't say what he said. Bringing up your mom and talking poorly of yourself is never going to be attractive to a girl. Ever. So just don't do that. At the end of Season 1 and early in Season 2, Demetri is hanging and talking with Moon and Aisha. This may not seem like much, but it's very significant for him. You remember what he said earlier?
I don't normally converse with the opposite sex.
Well, guess what? He's now talking to the opposite sex. That's an improvement. Moon is dating Hawk and he's not interested in Aisha, but that's the point. If you never talk to girls outside a classroom setting, you need to find a friend or group or activity and talk to some. At least then, talking to a girl you actually are interested in won't be the first time you ever speak to a girl casually. So do talk to girls you aren't interested in dating. It helps. Now, this advice may not apply to a lot of people, and it's popular to make fun of guys who have to start at essentially the beginning, so don't listen to haters. Demetri didn't have any here, but it's still a good lesson. So Demetri accidentally attracted the attention of two girls at the beach and immediately tried to flirt.
The All Valley, the Rumble and Reseda? Yes, we certainly did.
Cool. We're gonna go for a swim, but maybe play with you later?
Most def. That means most definitely.
This is obviously still cringe, but you know what? When you compare Demetri here to here, it's a vast improvement. At least with these girls, he's aware he needs to say something to make an impression. He's thinking about how they will perceive him. Notice here, while talking to Yasmine, he had no concept at how she would perceive what he was saying. It's good to assume Demetri probably thought about this encounter and realized he needed to play it different next time. He improved. The problem, of course, was he was saying a lot of stuff that wasn't true. Hawk didn't like that, and the girls may have been a little deflated once they learned the truth. So do consider what impression you're giving by what you're saying. Don't overly lie and say bullshit. After getting pushed around a little, Demetri ends up at Miyagi-Do. While his intention was to overcome the hounding he was getting from his friend, self-improvement is a must for everyone. Obviously, karate or other combat sports are great, but any sport is good. Or just find a gym and exercise. Do seek self-improvement through physical activity. Then there's this.
Hey, are we doing shirts versus skins? Because I prefer to be a shirt. Not saying that you have to be a skin, unless you want to. I support your right to choose.
Yeah. Don't ask for a girl to take her shirt off. Remember earlier the advice, do talk to girls even if you don't want to date them? This is the weirdness you need to avoid. You need to learn that. Demetri did give one useful piece of advice to Hawk.
I give up, man. She's moved on.
It may have been his best moment of Season 2, and it's good advice. The problem is you're combating your own intelligence and imagination. Hawk has the brain power where he can easily live in an imaginary world where he and Moon get back together, except that world doesn't exist. Living in an imaginary world like that will only make you depressed. Avoid that and do give her up when she's moved on. Okay, this is a hard one to plan for or engineer to make happen, but if you can, do win a karate fight in front of the whole school. But if that opportunity doesn't come up, it's not a super big deal, so don't stress. This is a remarkable scene in how far Demetri's come. You notice immediately how much more self-confidence he has?
Hey! My popularity is on the rise while yours is steadily declining. But, maybe we can meet in the middle. Like a sexual Venn diagram.
Compare it to here.
I don't normally converse with the opposite sex. Well, except for my mom.
Look, Demetri has gone from passively talking about his mom to confidently talking about a sexual Venn diagram. That's a hell of an improvement. Also,
my parents may not have to pay for my A this time.
Or your parents will never have to pay for an A again.
this is good in that he's now creating a positive association with himself. It's better than,
You realize what table you're sitting at, right? You've pretty much signed away all hopes of losing your virginity before college.
so now she has a reason to associate with him. The problem is it's a little weak. Don't offer to just permanently do her work. That looks desperate. Still, most of what he says is horrible. The only real good part is this.
My popularity is on the rise while
That is good, play yourself up. The problem is he followed it up with this.
yours is steadily declining.
That is horrible. This is not a situation of logic. Dating, relationships, and sex have nothing to do with logic. It's not an if-then statement. So you can't think, if I point out her popularity is declining, then she will see I am now in her league. Do you really think that is going to make her want you? Is this really how you think it'll go with a girl? I see you've been putting on some weight. Since guys don't like fat girls, you should go out with me. So do point out any positive developments and prospects for you. Don't point out her negatives. I may come back to this scene in the future. We'll see. Jumping ahead to Season 3, Episode 7, we have some interesting moments. While I think this is the weakest script of Season 3, the few parts with Demetri and Yasmine are a little interesting. Consider this moment.
It smells.
I put a lemon rind down there to mitigate that.
And the invitation for you to sign it still stands.
Hard pass. At least when you used to be a thorn in my tits, you were getting me an A in science. Now you can't even do that because you're defective.
Now at first it looks like mean girl Yasmine is just talking down to Demetri. She is, but also realize she walked up to him and entered the conversation herself. That's a long way from here and here.
I'm ready to go back to a world where we don't have to talk to each other on a regular basis.
Well, not only did they not go back, she's initiating the discussion. She's at least comfortable around him, so his self-confidence paid off over time. Also notice the shift in her language.
And the invitation for you to sign it still stands.
Hard pass. At least when you used to be a thorn in my tits, you were getting me an A in science.
So even though she's almost putting him down, she's using more direct and suggestive language. Almost any girl, including Yasmine, isn't going to so casually refer to her tits while talking to or around a guy. If she had to, she would use a less suggestive term like boobs. For this situation, she may say, "You've been a pain in my ass," which is more cliche than suggestive. Tits is a sexually loaded word that she's not going to casually drop. It's important because it's a sign that sexual thinking, and that's very important as you'll see, sexual thinking is on the table. That would mean referring to things in a more sexual way than is normal. It doesn't mean overtly talking about it. Also, one more thing to see. Watch. She just had to make sure she looked good before she came up to talk. How about that? Now you may think she was talking to Miguel, but she wasn't. Miguel at most was an excuse. This was all to Demetri. So do notice how a girl talks around you. Her language and word choice could offer clues to how she feels about you. The only problem is a lot of this is feel and instinct that just comes from experience. If you misread a situation, you cannot dwell on it, just move on. We finally end up here. This is the pivotal moment in Demetri's progression with Yasmine. Now we have to separate out what's important. There's a lot of lame Hollywood writing here where they're bonding over wedgie stories. Sometimes the writers on this show just can't help themselves. It may seem nice for a TV show, but in real life a girl isn't going to want you after hearing stories on how you were picked on. So then you're wondering how they got to here. That's still a heck of a jump. The important part is here. Her message on his cast changed everything and directly led them to making out. Yes, it wasn't some smooth words by Demetri or flirting over wedgies. It was the big dick message. It's always the big dick message. If that sounds strange to you, or you don't understand why that works, don't worry. You're not alone. This is the final and most fundamental part of getting a girl. I will note Demetri kind of lucked into it. You'll have to work harder than he did. The first step is you have to remember the lesson way at the beginning. You remember brain power and imagination can be the biggest block for a guy? A smart guy like Demetri imagines the worst possible outcome, so that's bad. But it can be good. We just have to borrow from Hawk.
I'm flipping the script.
Yes, flip the script. While your brain power and imagination can seriously work against you, when you flip the script,
Hawk style.
you use her brain power and imagination for you. Instead, get in her head, plant the seeds in her imagination so she sees you as the sexy guy she wants. That's really what this is all leading towards. For Demetri, you ever hear how writing something down makes it become real? You heard advice how when trying to remember something or memorize something, it helps dramatically when you write it down? What do you think happens when Yasmine writes, "I love your big dick" on his arm? She remembers it. It's on her mind now. She went home that day, that weekend. It was all she could think about. All her imagination was dedicated to it. She was turning herself on. Suddenly she wanted him. If you were to ask her, she wouldn't be able to explain it. She can't. Eventually she'd say something like how she likes nerdy guys, or he's different. You may think that doesn't make sense, but remember, you can't use logic. It's about emotion, and her mind is on one thing. So how do you use a girl's imagination to your advantage? It's great when it works, but the truth is they don't make it easy. It's important to know first, girls aren't visual the way you are, and certainly not to random pictures of genitalia.
Let me guess, dick pic?
Yeah, a dick pic will not only not work, it'll also lead to a police record. Bad move. You also just can't tell her this. A direct transfer of information isn't gonna do it. You can't just say to her, "I have a big dick, I think you'll like it." Yeah, that's just as bad as anything else. The real key and the reason it works for Demetri is she has to think it herself. Whether it's writing comedy or finding a way to use a girl's imagination for your advantage, the most successful and powerful way will always be to get her to imagine it on her own. It's delicate, a finesse, like a lady. It's not hard and brutish like a guy. Yasmine thought of this and wrote it down, all on her own. I can't give you a line. There is no magic line. All I can do is tell you the goal. Get her to think it on her own. Her imagination will take over. And that's what you have to do. But once you get the skill mastered, you can end up like this. It'll feel like a superpower. So this has been our masterclass on getting the girl, courtesy of Demetri. We've covered a wide range of dating advice, from talk to the girl, have some self-confidence, the deeper obstacles and keys to success. Namely, don't let your imagination create fears to stop you, but fully activate her imagination to make her want you. So get out there and do it. If you like this video, please let me know. I can do more videos of this style if you want. There's plenty of other dates and couples to analyze. Please share this far and wide and subscribe. You don't want to miss any videos from me. Up next, I do want to talk about the poor writing in episode 7 and how it affects Sam's story. Have a great day. I'll see you at the next watch party.
So you two are...
Ew. Ew. No.
Like I would ever date this freak.
Whatever, Cruella. Why don't you go kill a bunch of Dalmatians? I am 101% in love.